All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DINA webinar. I see a couple of new names, so I just want to let you know you guys are automatically muted, and it looks like everybody's on the microphone, so we're good to go there. Do I have any? I guess oh, here we go. Noise protocol. We'll keep you on mute to minimize the background noise. If you have any questions at the end of Elena's presentation or when she pauses for a break, you can raise your hand here and then we'll unmute you so you can ask your question. Or if at any time you need help with something, there's several of us here on the staff, Brett, Joe, and myself, BL, type us a little chat message here and we'll be able to help you there. Okay, so let me turn this over to Elena. There you go, Elena.
Thank you. I am putting on the screen the meditation. Hello, everybody. Welcome. And as usual, we start with a short alignment of the group energies. So please make yourself comfortable. Release all the unnecessary buzzing in your energy fields. And focus the attention in the head. Imagining the light of the soul pouring through the mental body, integrating the personality. We will sound the 3 ohms as we imagine the white golden light illuminating through the 3 lower bodies. First illuminating the mental body, purifying the astral body, strengthening the etheric body. Visualize the threefold personality as being unified with the white light. Seeing it as one integrated whole. Personality soul fusion. see the lower triangle representing the personality with the mental body at the apex of the triangle and the physical and astral bodies at the base of the triangle. And its apex is pointing upwards. Above the lower triangle, see the brightly lit higher triangle representing the soul, with its apex pointing downwards. You see the two triangles facing each other. And by an act of the will, see these two triangles merging together and forming a six-pointed star. See the six-pointed star as a shining sun. Representing the soul-infused personality. And sound a silent Om to confirm this fusion. A group alignment. Visualize a sphere of a pure white light and the group members as a miniature shining suns inside and around the sphere. See a sphere of light linking the heart centers of all the group members. A sphere of light linking the head centers. And a sphere of light linking the ajna centers of all the group members. Imagine the light rapidly circulating through these three spheres. And aligning the three group centers, ajna, heart, and head. Into one mind, one soul, and one will. To confirm the group alignment, we sound the Om as a group. Thank you, everybody. And now, those of you who are new to this webinar, we have already started to talk about the sacred and non-sacred planets in a previous webinar. So, if you haven't already listened to the webinar and you were not present last time, it would be good, to really listen to it, to have the continuation of the ideas which have been already discussed about this topic, because it is not an easy topic to integrate astrologically and to understand certain points which we are not given by the Master DK. Because now we will continue where we left, and I will finish this subject on this webinar. We stopped at a point where we were looking at the 5th house in the CDP chart, and this is it. This is the astrological chart of the Disciple C.D.P, and in the corner here you see the rays of this disciple for those of you who are new. 2nd ray soul, 6th ray personality, 5th ray mental body, 6th ray astral, and 6th ray physical. Okay? So we were looking at the 5th house, which is this one. And the involvement and the presence of the non-sacred planet Earth, you see it here in the 5th house, and Moon. So we have 2 non-sacred planets in the house, in one of the 4 houses of the personality, which is orientated more towards the form, personality, and the 3 lower worlds, generally speaking. This is bringing a focus mainly on 2 centers which are ruled by these 2 non-sacred planets, and that is spleen, which is ruled by Earth, and the center in the chest related to the thymus gland, ruled by the Moon. And this center, this related to the thymus gland, becomes inactive when the heart center starts to awaken and work, become active. And we know that the heart center is related to the 5th house, the 5th house which we are dealing with, and the sign of Leo, because Leo generally is related as a ruler of the 5th house. Okay. From the health perspective, the thymus gland and the heart center are related primarily to the immunity, and the spleen to vitality. And both of these centers, even from the perspective of the non-sacred planets, are involved behind her devitalized conditions through which she suffered all her life. And we have been discussing this issue of the devitalization through previous webinars. Okay? What we are doing now, we are adding further information through the energies of the sacred and non-sacred planets. Beside the Earth, which I, at my present understanding, hypothesize as ruling the fifth house, which, as I said, is one of the 4 houses of the personality. In the case of this disciple, it is also ruled by Libra, you see here, because we must understand that the rulership of the sacred and non-sacred planets of the houses are for everybody. Okay? They are generally related to the houses primarily. But when it comes to each of us individually, we need to consider also the sign itself, which rules the 5th house, and then analyze the energies together of that sign and that rulers with the non-sacred planets, in this case here, Earth and Moon. Okay? And so this is a more involved process for the astrologers themselves, because all these levels have to be then modified through those various energies. Okay? So if we want to consider now, just to give you example how to work with these energies, okay? Libra, from the exoteric point of view, is ruled by Venus. Venus happens to be also one of the sacred planets ruling the 7th house. And just to give you, for those of you especially who were not here, these are the 7 sacred planets. You see Vulcan, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus. And Venus, as I said, is a sacred planet. Okay? So from going back now, to the chart. Okay. I would have to go between this one and this one continuously, because you see that it is good that you see this, that you see Venus as one of the 7 sacred planets is also ruling the 7th house. Okay? And all this information has to be all integrated together, you see. It means going back now again to the chart, that we are linking the energies through the process of these rulerships. It means the 7th house, which the sacred planet Venus is ruling for each of us. Okay? This creating a relationship between the 5th house and the 7th house. Okay? It means this is, for the simplicity, I would call this sacred house, and this is a non-sacred house. This is a lower energy of an interpretation of the house. This is the higher energy. Okay, what that house means also. There is also creating a relationship between Venus, which is the ruler of Libra, from the personality point of view also, because it's the exoteric ruler of Libra. Okay? So we need to analyze these relationships from both the sacred and non-sacred planetary energies, and from the exoteric and esoteric rulership of that house, and of other present planets in that house, and in that house, which is happen to be empty, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work when it's empty. So the other planet which we need to consider is the esoteric ruler of that fifth house, Libra. It's Uranus. Uranus is the soul as esoteric ruler of Libra. Okay? And Uranus is one of the sacred planets ruling 11th house for each of us. Okay? That's why I'm emphasizing these points, that the differences become only from the individual horoscope itself in relation to the other energies in the chart. And it is Uranus is placed in second house, which happened to be the sacred house ruled by one of the 7 sacred planets, which is Vulcan. You know, I would need to continuously jump between these, you see, that you understand what I'm talking about. That Vulcan, as you see here, is ruling the second house as one of the sacred planets. As I said, Uranus rules the 11th house. Okay? So that's why this process will go rather slowly, because of this, you know, jumping from one reference to the other. So we are having established from the 5th house, we are having a number of relationships linking the 7th house, the 2nd house, the 12th house, where we find the Venus, and the 11th house, which is ruled by Uranus. When we come to the Vulcan, we need to include the Vulcan, which we have no exact placement of Vulcan. That's why I am not even including it here, but it is certainly in Aries, 8 degrees from the sun either way. So it can be in the 10th house or 11th house, so we cannot include it in this relationship here. And obviously, you know, through the planet Earth, which hypothetically is ruling the 5th house, but I am also considering it as the ruler of the 6th house, because, as we have already seen here, we have no ruler given by the Master DK. If we take Mercury as ruling the 3rd house, we have no ruler given for the 6th house. and sixth house being the mainly house of adjustment, various techniques of integration and adjustment and service area. Earth is fitting for me as the best planet to rule that house out of all the other planets. So this is, I am just sharing my own understanding about this point with you, and you would have to think about it yourself to what you would think about it. Now going back to the chart, the house placement of the sun is very important from the perspective as its relation to the sign of Leo through the veiling of the three planets, okay, which would be Jupiter, Uranus and Neptune, but also from the perspective of the non-sacred planet, because again we are told that, here we go, that we have 5 non-sacred planets. They rule the 4 lower bodies and the personality as a whole, which is ruled by the sun. Okay? You see it here. So we are considering the sun now primarily from the perspective of its being the non-sacred planet, ruling the personality as a whole. So from both perspectives, actually the sun is ruler of the personality. Okay? And is under control, very unusual statement from the master, that it's being controlled by the 4 lower aspects. It means the dense physical, etheric, astral, and lower mental energies. Okay? So this would be the focal point in this case as a sun in both perspective as a sun sign, giving us the secret of the personality ray, and being the point also indicating the integration process of the personality, so would be also the non-sacred sun, because it is conditioned by its 4 lower bodies. Okay? So it would be, from the personality perspective, a very testing area for this disciple of the sun, being in what we would call the sacred house, because it's ruled by sacred planet. Okay? And as a non-sacred planet in a sacred house, she would have to work with 2 different levels of energies from this perspective. Okay? We would need to also consider obviously the 4 non-sacred planets, which this is going to be laborious, which are ruling the 4 lower aspects of the personality. And in this case, it would be Moon, Earth, Mars, and Pluto. Okay? As the rulers of the 4 lower bodies of the personality, because they are going to influence the integration process of the personality. Okay? For example, C.D.P. We have already discussed in the previous webinars the lack of integration between her astral, 6th ray astral and 5th ray mental bodies. From the perspective of this conjunction, Venus Mars, where we have taken Venus representing the mental body and Mars the astral body. Okay? Because Venus is in a powerful placement of the Gemini, where she rules as the soul or esoteric ruler. Okay? So we need to now, we will look at the integration from also different perspectives here. Okay? From this perspective of this conjunction, the integration of these two different levels, astral and mental, is indicated by what I call out of sign conjunction. It means this conjunction is not in the same sign, but one planet, Mars, is in Taurus, and Venus is in Gemini. Okay? And the wheel is turning reversed way, so it's from Taurus to Gemini. It means this is, if I was looking at this chart, this would tell me immediately that these two levels have to be aligned or integrated, which is not easy process, particularly with that critical degree of 29 degrees in Taurus of the Mars there. Okay? Now, from the perspective of the sacred and non-sacred planets, we see that the non-sacred planet Mars would also rule the astral body, like it was in the other case when we were considering the conjunction from a different perspective. And the non-sacred planet Pluto, over here, would be ruling her mental body. Okay? Now you see it here. Mars ruling astral body, and Pluto, I am considering myself as the non-sacred planet ruling her lower mental body. Okay? Which some people might think that it could be even the astral body, but then we have, at least I have a problem with it. So, now, going back to the chart, we see that this conjunction now, Mars-Pluto, is in the same sign, which is a difference from this conjunction, which was in different signs. Okay? But the shifting levels here is from one house to the other house. That Pluto is in 11th house and Mars is in a 12th house. That is also energy, shifting of energies of houses, which also indicates a process of alignment or integration, in this case, particularly in the personality, because Mars and Pluto, even as a non-sacred planets, are the lower bodies of the personality. Okay? So, which these two houses happen to be sacred houses. Okay? Because, as we have already said, the 11th house is ruled by the sacred planet Uranus. Okay? Where we find the non-sacred planet Pluto in this case, ruling the lower mental body. And Mars, it's in a 12th house, which is ruled by the sacred planet Neptune. Okay? So we have a combination of sacred and non-sacred planets and houses here. And that's why you see, when we adding these non-sacred and sacred energies, we are getting an additional and deeper information of the processes and how these energies work. Now we would have to basically modify the interpretation together with that conjunction, Mars and Venus, and Mars and Pluto conjunction, because both are involved in this integration of the personality, you see. And we know that CDP has entered with a very poor integrated personality, which we have already discussed a little bit, where, you know, she didn't have the etheric and physical bodies integrated, and actually she suffered through that misintegration through her whole life. That's why, you know, through her whole life she had this problem of the devitalized condition. But under the direction, you see, of the master, she achieved the integration of the astral and mental bodies, which she had not, they have not been integrated when she entered the incarnation, until she came under the instruction of the master. You know, this process was achieved, but, you know, she had no completely or fully integrated personality. Even, you know, when she finished that incarnation. So you see, we have a very deep dynamics emerging here through this process. Now, if we stay now with this conjunction of this, I'm having a little bit problem here because it's a big storm starting here. So I don't know if you can already hear it, and I need to go and close one of my doors, which is open, before I can continue with this. I'm sorry about this.
Go ahead and do that, Elena, and while you're doing that, I'm going to try and attach the document that you had last month that listed the information that you're referring back to, and see if the students can get to it, okay?
Okay.
All right. I, too, am experiencing a storm, so I hope that isn't going to interfere with this, but I hope you all can see down at the bottom of your dashboard where it says handouts. Let me see if I can attach a file. This is actually available on Makara at the same place the webinar recordings are. But this is a new feature in GoToWebinar where we've been allowed to attach documents. So let's just see if I'm successful in doing that.
I'll let you know when I see it, BL.
I show it's there, Joe. Can you see it?
It is. Yes, I do. And if you all can see your little box, if it has a plus sign, you need to click on that little plus sign, turns to a minus sign, and you can.
We just lost you, Joe.
I'm still here.
Okay, good. All right. So let me see a raise of hands. Who all was able to get the attachment? Great. Walter, Esther, Michael.
Where we are now.
Okay, I've just got some hands up, and thank you guys. You can put your hands down. We did it. We did attach the document that's available there on Makara from last month. So you guys can then click on it. You can download it. Then you can save it. So there you go. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue, please.
So I don't need to know jump back to the references there, right?
No, the people will have those references available. You can continue to do that if you want, but
it's very time consuming, you know, to go from one thing to the other.
Right.
Okay.
So the students do now have that handout available to them.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Mm-hmm. So the conjunction of the two non-sacred planets here, we have Mars and Pluto, right, in Taurus, is very significant for this disciple, which we have already discussed, actually, this conjunction from different perspectives before, but both of these planets are involved in the first and second initiation, ruling the lower burning ground, you see. For C.D.P, as a disciple in training for the second initiation, they are related to the burning ground on the astral plane, and particularly to the solar plexus, which is ruled in this case by Pluto, the non-sacred planet Mars in the 12th house, brought into relation with the Vulcan, which rules the 12th house as a sacred planet, through the Taurian energy, and emphasize the endurance and persistence, which C.D.P was her outstanding quality through these energies. And at the second initiation, which I was talking about, the will, particularly the will of the soul, becomes stronger than the desire, because there is the death of desire, and the astral body and the emotional nature is brought under the control more of the soul, illumined mind. And so the development, you know, of detachment or dispassion, which she was struggling to develop through her life, because I don't know if I said that, you know, dispassion was one of her keywords in her development formula, you know, standing for the D, C.D.P. Achievement of detachment and objectivity from the personalities of others, you see, through involving the seventh house, which we already discussed, and her children. She was so emotionally detached, not detached from her emotion to her children. In order, she had to develop this dispassion in order to participate in the group work, and the work of the hierarchy. That's why the 11th house, also the 10th house, which we have started to consider there, well, also the Neptune becomes involved as a ruler of that Piscean house, and in relation to the soul purpose through the Cancer ascendant. We have already discussed that 11th house in previous webinars, where we, from the perspective of idealism, ideas in relation to her sixth ray ajna. Those of you who participated, you know, remember this. And So now the involvement of Neptune in that 11th house as a sacred planet ruling the personality and the astral body through the non-sacred mass, and the Sun is veiling also Neptune from the perspective of the initiatory process in relation to Leo. So we have a major confirmation of the sixth ray here also through this 11th house, you see. We are told, you know, that the 7 houses which are governed by the 7 sacred planets are not so purely material or exoterically oriented, yet, you know, DK is telling us that all the 12 houses indicate the limitation, and they are the prison of the soul. They hold us in a prison if we are allowed to be imprisoned there through the focus of the personality energies, you see. But they offer us opportunity if we are oriented towards the soul, towards the inner spiritual reality. Okay, so there is a difference between these houses, but all are basically a prison from the lower perspective, if we allow the personality and the form to control us. Here you see, I would say that the moon, which also represents the prison of the soul, as we know, and it's the blockage to fulfillment of soul purpose, you see, is also in one of the houses of the personality, the 5th house. Okay, and it's the ruler of another personality house, which is the 4th house. But as you see, on the 4th house, for example, we have a Virgo energy, where the moon is the soul or esoteric ruler. So there is another shifting levels of energies from the material personality focus of that moon towards the soul, and is the ascendant ruler of the Cancer ascendant, you see. So there the energies are so difficult for her to raise these levels, as we see from a number of different perspectives. But through the non-sacred planets, we see the more clarity, at least for me, and emerging and emphasizing this process. Okay, so this is a major challenge for her, this planet moon. In that house, you see, this polarity is the major polarity here from number of perspectives, 5 and 11 houses. I don't know if I said that the Mars is also the exoteric ruler of the 11th house, okay, the personality ruler as an exoteric ruler, and it is a general ruler of the physical body itself. From the non-sacred perspective, it's the ruler of the astral body, and it rules also a personality as a whole. So you see, the Sun also rules the personality as a whole, as a non-sacred planet. We have this 11th house, very powerful again, energies from the personality level, but also from the soul level, with that Neptune in relation as a ruler to her ascendant. Okay, and it is also a veiling planet of the Sun from the perspective of the initiatory process through the Leo energy. Okay, so what we see here is a powerful focus in relation to the 11 house planets of the sixth ray mass ruling the physical body, as a non-sacred planet ruling the I was going just to check this astral body. You see that people see it. That the mass, its physical body, astral body, personality as a whole. Oh God. And presenting us with powerful six-ray focus of these three levels. Because we know that her physical body is ruled by the sixth house, the astral body is ruled by the sixth house, and so is the whole personality. And through involvement of these non-sacred planets, you see, we are getting this levels emphasis of the powerful six-ray energy here. The integration, you know, in her life and soul personality fusion process, it's not easy. That's why she was, you know, already struggling with this powerful sixth ray for 3 lives. This was her 4th life. And, you know, Master is telling her at the end of her present life that, you know, she failed to actually conquer this powerful six-ray force and fulfill her soul purpose, at least part of it. Okay, because there are some other aspect of the soul purpose, but this was her major one. So this brings the 11th house, you know, a duality of forces here which need to be aligned and united with the powerful non-sacred and sacred planets, where she needs to invoke the higher or soul energy of the planet Mars, particularly because it's in a critical degree also, and it's you know, it's affecting her in a number of different levels, and that's why she has to, and it's the planet of courage, you see. From this perspective, it's the courage of the soul, one of her key words with the letter C in her development formula, where, you know, she needs to invoke the soul energy of the mass towards the first ray soul energy of that mass, because mass on a soul level is conditioned by the first ray. So, and on personality by the sixth ray. So that's why you see that mass for me is emerging, and I see it more clear, you know, the struggle she had to shift that non-sacred energy of that mass and develop that courage of the soul, you know, to bring all this integration and fusion process together, and establishing the soul control upon the higher mental plane, represented by that Mercury as the soul ruler of Aries, ruling higher mental plane, you see, and being placed in the 10th house, another mental energy, stabilize the soul contact on that higher mental plane, you see, because esoterically, you know, it is Mercury, the illumined mind, which rules the 11th house from that higher perspective. Okay, it wouldn't be easy because, you know, in addition, that Mercury not being too much involved with the aspect, but is making semi-square to that Pluto, a lower mental to the higher mental, a lower mental body Pluto, higher mental energy of the soul, illumined mind Mercury. And there is a semi-square, not an easy aspect, and it is also squaring her ascendant, the Mercury, you see. So, here we are really getting deeper into the processes of this disciple, that, it was not easy to transmute these lower energies, and particularly the six ray powerful force, as we see now, being involved in those lower levels. So what I would like to do is to we have lost a number of times through this interruption. I would like to summarize a little bit in a very simple way, maybe, the subject, of the non-sacred and sacred planets in relation to the astrological chart. That, those of you who are aspiring to be esoteric astrologers, and those of you who already are somewhere in the process working with esoteric astrology, that how to start, looking at the chart, integrating this non-sacred and sacred dynamics in relation to the rest of the chart. So remember always that generally these non-sacred sacred planets are principally related to the 12 houses, okay? And affect more the 3 lower worlds and the personality aspect of life, primarily, okay? There is always a process when this is shifting towards personality soul fusion, okay? But I'm trying to now summarize and simplify, the sacred planets aid more in the process of soul personality fusion, and as DK say, in quickening of the intuition also. Now, the next, what we do, we check the 4 houses of the personality, which are the 1st, 4th, 5th, and 8th houses, okay? And we look what is present in these houses. Are there any planets, and what kind of planets? Particularly if in these 4 houses we find the sun, moon, or those which rule the ascendant, that particular house of the personality immediately attract our focus. That would be a focal point. Like, for example, in the case of C.D.P., to make you the example here, what I am saying very quickly is that the focal point, as we have already seen, but now from the perspective of, you see the moon, a very important planet in relation to the ascendant. One of the ascendant rulers, it's in the 5th house, which is one of the 4 houses of the personality, okay? And that starts our beginning process of relationship from that 5th house through the planets which are found there, and through the various levels of rulership, okay? That would be a very good starting point. Then we look if we find anything in the other 3 houses. In her case, the 1st house is empty. The 4th house has a south node, which would, I don't want to involve my time in interpretation of that, but it would be related to the past, to the moon, to the karmic processes, past, relation to the past. But you see, the moon is also the esoteric or soul ruler of that personality house, 4th house. So the dynamics here are very important, to consider, you see. So, but you see, another empty house, she has another empty house, that is the 8th house, okay? Which is ruled by the non-sacred planet Pluto, okay, we are told. But it doesn't mean, you know, that empty house is not important. It can be more important even with a house which has something in it. So we need to consider what is the Pluto doing, primarily as the non-sacred planet, which we already talk from number of perspective with that Pluto, and the other planet from the 8th house would be Saturn, which is the ruler of the Capricorn, which is ruling the 8th house. And you know, it's in the 9th house, you see. It's in the 9th house, which is a sacred house, sacred planet, but it happens to be in square to the Jupiter, which is the sacred ruler of that house, but is also esoteric ruler of the same house, the 9th house. You see, and we started to have a dynamics developing through the T-square in relation to that 8th house. Particularly Jupiter is her second ray soul planet. It's in the 6th house, and I can see I wouldn't have time to go discussing further about that 6th house. So the same way we will check the 7 houses ruled by the 7 sacred planets, right? Which would be the 2nd house. In her case, Uranus, we already looked. The 3rd house, it's empty, but we would need to consider, you know, the Sun in relation to that, and Mercury, which is the sacred planets, a planet which rules 3rd house, okay? And we would go through all the rest of the houses ruled by the sacred planets, okay? The Saturn, then Saturn also is ruler of the 10th house as a sacred planet, okay? And all this would have to be, I'm running through it a little bit quick because I really want to finish this subject today. I don't want to carry it anymore to another webinar. So I am giving you a little bit example here, how to start to integrate these non-sacred and sacred energies, you see, into the interpretation, because you see, you start with a focal point. That's why I'm bringing also in relation to the sacred houses of the seven sacred houses, where, you know, we focus where the sun is, with the from one perspective, okay? Also Uranus in that relationship, because it's a sacred house, and we need to balance the non-sacred sun with the sacred Uranus in there particularly. And you see a nice trine is going from the sun to the Uranus, which is the ruler. It is also a ruler hierarchically from the Aries perspective. So, but we can consider that only if somebody is on that level, which this disciple wasn't, on the monadic level of energies, okay? But there is a certainly relationship in there. It is the last point I'm going to mention. The last point I'm going to mention, which it's something which I haven't said even in previous webinar, is that when we check the polarities of the sacred and non-sacred houses, we will discover that the 4 houses of personality ruled by the non-sacred planets are in opposition to the 4 houses ruled by the 4 sacred planets. it means first house non-sacred, 7 sacred. Fourth house non-sacred, 10 house sacred. Fifth house sacred, 11 non-sacred. 8th house non-sacred, second house sacred. Now, this has to be developed further. I'm just giving you these clues, okay, here, that this is a very interesting emergence of polarities. Then the only polarity of houses ruled by sacred planets is the third house ruled by sacred planet Mercury, and the 9th house ruled by sacred planet Jupiter. Okay, now obviously these two planets have to be considered. Okay, what they are doing, you know, in the chart, very important planets. Now, and you see, if those of you who were on the previous webinar, remember we were emphasizing the Gemini-Sagittarius polarity, which is the polarity of the 3-9 houses, basically, right? Because this is the polarity which is the only polarity or signs which is ruled by Earth, okay? And the Earth is ruling Gemini hierarchically, and Sagittarians esoterically as a soul, okay? And it is, the Earth is being the intermediary and relating planet between these pairs of opposites. And we know that the etheric field of Earth is formed by the squares, personality, and triangle. We need to transform it into the triangles, which is the soul. Gemini is the primary sign related to the etheric body. These are all the clues, you know, behind why I have considered us in relation to the etheric field ruling the etheric body, and also as a place, as a field of service where we need to work through various adjustments and healing processes and various techniques of integration fusion, is the 6th house, you see. So that's why the remaining polarity is the 6th, 12th house, you see. And the 12th house is the sacred house, Neptune, ruled by sacred planet Neptune. And if we consider the planet Earth from the perspective as the major area, I have developed a lot of ideas about it, but I have no time to share them with you, why that Earth fits there, because it is related to a very important triangle formed by Mercury, Venus, and Earth, you see. In relation to Gemini, Gemini, Aries, Earth, another triangle. You know, there are a number of triangles where the Earth is becoming as the form of field where we need to work out all this, okay? Okay, I know I am overlapping my time, BL, here, right?
Well, you lost some, so Brett will get creative with the editing out of the little block, so
yes. Okay.
I also want you to know you had a couple questions.
Yeah, okay, so I will stop here. Basically, I am concluding the subject of the non-sacred and sacred planets with this, but from my own perspective, I am developing the unresolved and still unclear area of the Earth in relation to the 6th house and Earth in relation to the 5th house, okay? But I started to give you some idea where I am going with it because, you know, even our planetary logos of a non-sacred planet Earth, his etheric and vital body is conditioned by Earth, okay? So that is another clue. Anyway, give me the questions.
Okay. One of them was from Esther, and she wanted to know about the term for the Disciple C.D.P. rather than the name of the person.
You mean the keywords?
Yes.
I have already mentioned C, it's courage, courage of the soul. D is dispassion. And P is pure love. That was another major issue, to develop pure love, which we will be discussing in other webinars. Why pure love? She was the only disciple among all of them who had the keyword pure love. There were few disciples who had a love in the one of the keywords, but it was either love, just love, group love, you know, a different DK was adding a second word to that love, but she was the only one who had a pure love. So these are the three development formulas for her.
And as you've explained in the previous webinars, he did that for each of the disciples. He referred to them by their three words that they were supposed to be working on and developing. So
yes,
okay,
that's correct.
The next question comes from Nicolay, and his question is concerning DINA 1, page 526, and a quote there where DK tells her, your reaction to all life's happening and to your environment are those of a superficial fluidity. It is not basic or fundamental, for your life purpose is undeflectable, if there is such a word, my brother, and your life tendency is firmly and unchangeably oriented. And he asked, you know, maybe it was related with Venus and Gemini.
Yes, that's definitely part of that energy. Yes, and also in relation to Mercury as ruler of Gemini. Both of these planets, okay? And in this case, the fluidity is not Venus as a soul planet in Gemini, but as an exoteric energy of that planet in both cases, the fluidity, the uncontrolled energy she had, we will come to that instruction in the future, dealing with that passage which you just read in a more deeper sense, And to remember that the 12th house, as each house can be interpreted from number of levels, this is the area of the soul on its own plane also, okay? And that's where the Venus on that plane in Gemini, it's coming from the illumined mind. But from the fluidity and very busy mind, it's also Mercury in Aries, not as a soul ruler, okay? That's where she couldn't control the impulsive energy of that Aries and the fluidity of that mind through the lower aspect of these planets. It doesn't mean that these planets, when they are found in esoteric, powerful placement, that they are automatically working only on that level. With the point which Master DK is saying, that a disciple up to the middle point between the first and second initiation is working only with the exoteric planets. And there is a gradual inclusion of the esoteric planets around that level. Okay? And Disciple upon the Path of Discipleship is working with both in relation to all the houses, even of the ascendant. Okay? It doesn't mean that when we're talking about soul purpose, we're going to include only the esoteric ruler. Okay? We need to deal, as in this case, as we see, the moon is critical in that relationship as an exoteric ruler of that Cancer ascendant. Well, I hope I have a little bit answered that, what was asked.
Well, I don't see any follow-up questions, so now would be a time to ask any if anybody has any more. I don't see any hands and I don't see any comments, so.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. It is, you know, it is very not easy subject, you know, to digest in a few minutes. It has to be pondered upon because, you see, we included some new dynamic of energies into the chart, which is a challenge for experienced esoteric astrology, including myself, to integrate them into the chart. And it's a very time-consuming process.
Well, thank you, Elena, and we are so glad that you were able to come back.
Well, you know, I'm sorry about it, but it was out of my control.
Act of nature, the hand of God.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you everybody for participating, and I would advise you, those of you who are interested, you know, to really go to the webinars which are recorded, and in your own time, you know, to go through what is being said here.
Well, thank you, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.